What's up everyone, OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about something that has finally been put to bed when it comes to the Nintendo Switch and third-party ports on the system, because this has been something that's been going around since the launch of the Nintendo Switch back in 2017. It wasn't like Doom Eternal and also Doom, the original one, was enough to convince people, but now we have a game with The Witcher 3 that is a very taxing game. Many people feel that it's one of the most technologically advanced games in the current generation of the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, and this game has finally been announced for the Nintendo Switch after a few leaks last year, and of course leaning into the Nintendo Switch E3 direct presentation, we've got that. And I want to go over some of the information on this game and talk about some of the stuff in terms of what people were saying, and kind of going forward we can finally put these armchair developers, these armchair programmers, these armchair graphic specialists that are online on Twitter that have never developed a single game in their life, that are sitting there and saying what can come and what can't come to Nintendo Switch. We can finally put all of that to bed with The Witcher 3 showing up on the Nintendo Switch in 2019. This is definitely exciting news for a lot of fans out there, but also for what the Nintendo Switch can do in the future. So let's talk a little bit about the port of the Nintendo Switch version of The Witcher 3. So this is going to be handled by Saber Interactive, and that has already some people saying like, wait a minute, Saber, they're the same people who did like NBA 2K, like the Playgrounds or whatever the case is, but they do have experience on the Nintendo Switch, and they are working with CD Projekt Red in order to get this done. Now there are some other things kind of going on with this game, because this is a very unique game here in the West, because the Japanese audience, they got a 32GB cartridge game, and that was Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2 at the launch of the Nintendo Switch back in 2017. However, that game never came over to the West, and that is the only game that I know of that uses a 32GB cartridge, and it's only in Japan. Now, if you look at The Witcher 3 on the Nintendo Switch, this game comes with all of the DLC. So everything is packed into this game, the blood and wine, all of that stuff. You're not going to miss anything when it comes to The Witcher 3 in terms of content. All of that's on there on the Nintendo Switch cartridge with no extra download needed. I mean, there might be some type of day one update. I'm not really sure if they've talked about that, but there might be something small, but all of the content is on there on a 32GB cartridge. That has been confirmed in terms of what they're doing with that. So that is officially the first game to be released in the West on a 32GB cartridge. Now, I'm not sure if this is 100% confirmed for Japan or not. I would think that it is, because The Witcher originally came there, but either way, 32GB cartridge. Now, what's going on with that? Why is this the first game to have that? And yes, it is full price. So for those saying, oh, well, is it going to be like $30 like the PS4, Xbox One version? You know it's not. It's going to be $60, especially with that more expensive 32GB cartridge. Now, let's talk about this just a little bit more. I wonder if Nintendo actually had a hand in helping them out, cutting a deal on this, if they paid for some of it in order to get this type of game, a game that nobody felt that could come to Nintendo Switch in order to be ported over. Saber Interactive and CD Projekt Red, I know that they wouldn't like do this at all if they felt that it was going to be a horribly performing port, or it wasn't going to look decent enough for what The Witcher is used to. Now, I do understand The Witcher fans out there, people who have played the game on like the Xbox One X or PS4 Pro. I have the game on the Xbox One X as well, and PC. People are going to sit there and say, obviously this looks horrible, it's not good, blah blah blah, whatever the case is. They're targeting 30 frames per second. That's what one of the developers did say, and they're going with 720p docked with an adaptive resolution, and then in portable mode they're going with 540p, and I think that's also adaptive, but I'm thinking that they're going to try to hold more towards 540p with that. So we'll see if a potential Nintendo Switch Pro, if there is something like that in the future, does help out with those numbers, but we have to go with what we have right now. So some people are already saying this is horrible, we shouldn't get it, blah blah blah, whatever the case is. This is very similar to what Doom was on the Nintendo Switch, which was about 720p. I think it was a little bit lower than that docked when it comes down to it, but I think it hit that sometimes. And then lower resolution when it was portable, with adaptive resolution all over the place and all of that. Then they released an update to actually improve things just a bit, so we'll see what goes on with this one. But I think that Nintendo maybe cut them a deal on those 32GB cartridges, because I'm not sure if CD Projekt Red, or definitely not Saber who's doing the port, but CD Projekt Red is going to pay upfront for that. but I think that Nintendo wanted to have this type of game. I think that Nintendo probably reached out to them at least about 2 years ago, a year and a half or 2 years ago, and said, hey, can you get this game, The Witcher, on the Nintendo Switch? Because that is a big game that many people wouldn't think is possible, and that's what makes this whole thing incredible to see that it happened. Like, we know we got the leaks, but there were still people, even with those leaks, saying there's no way that The Witcher 3 can run on the Nintendo Switch. There's no way that it can. These armchair developers that are sitting there and saying this just because the Switch doesn't have the same specs as some of these other systems, but it's not always just about the specs. It's about the compatibility with the engine, and it's about the feature set, and it's about if the developer is willing to put in the time, effort, and money in order to get this done. And that was all of the things that happened with The Witcher 3 on the Nintendo Switch. The Switch has the specs to get it done. It's just not going to look as good as the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox One or the PC, but it has the specs and it has the engine compatibility and all that to get it done. So I was very happy to see that. But these armchair developers that were sitting there and saying that no, it couldn't happen, this pretty much puts all of that to bed. Pretty much any PlayStation 4 or Xbox One game can come over to Nintendo Switch if the developers are willing to put the time and effort and money into doing it. Now, once again, I do think that Nintendo cut them a deal on the cartridges. So I think if Nintendo was cutting deals on cartridges when it comes to file size, because that's the biggest issue that we're seeing here with some of these PlayStation 4 and Xbox One games. These games are bloated up to run on x86 hardware, to have like 50 gigabyte installs, sometimes up to 60, 70, even 100 gigabyte install sizes. Obviously, there are no cartridges that Nintendo can do that can even give anywhere near that amount at this point, especially if your game is like 100 gigabytes, like a Call of Duty or something like that. You're not going to get that on the Nintendo Switch. So a lot of developers are running into file limitation sizes, and they can't expect Nintendo Switch owners to be downloading 40 or 50 gigabytes on their SD card for this game. So that's the issue. So to be able to get somebody that can get that downsized and get it to where it's on a 32 gigabyte cartridge, I think going forward, maybe, just maybe, some of these prices are going to be going down. So we can see some of these other games come over to Nintendo Switch that are a little bit larger in file size, but it makes just about that sense when it comes to the resolution. Obviously, if you have lower resolution and assets aren't as high quality, then that's going to lower the file size, because it's like 50 or 60 gigabytes when it comes to The Witcher 3 on the other systems. So if you reduce those things, it's going to be a lower file size. Then if you do more optimization, then you can also get the job done. So we'll see how Saber has it. And I've seen the comparisons, which you guys are seeing some here. Obviously, there is definitely a downgrade even from like the base PlayStation 4. The Xbox One X version and the PC version definitely look better. The PlayStation 4 Pro version definitely looks better as well, but I don't think it's a horrible job by Saber Interactive in terms of what they've shown off here. The official Witcher account even showed off the screenshots and said, hey, this is The Witcher 3. So I think that they're proud of it, considering the hardware that it's on and considering everything that it would take to get something like this done. I think that's pretty cool. And it's funny because the other day I was talking with someone else, and they were talking about why this is an illogical port, why nobody would want this, or why it doesn't matter. But for all of the reasons that I just listed, it does matter when it comes to the cartridge sizes. And if we can be getting more games that use 32 gigabyte cartridges, when it comes to having a big AAA quote unquote game come over to Nintendo Switch that nobody thought was possible, there can definitely be other developers. Now that this is done, there can be other developers that say, hey, maybe we can get this done as well. And on top of that, why this matters is that there's another port studio in the house when it comes to Saber Interactive, because Panic Button can't do everything. Iron Galaxy can't do everything. So we have another developer that dips their feet into the Switch porting pool, which is going to give us more resources, or give more like the publishers more resources in order who to pick to get some of these ports done. So even like with next gen or something like that, being able to bring over games. So this is very important. This matters quite a bit. This is not something that should just be brushed off or put aside. This is something that many people thought that couldn't happen, and seeing this type of game come on the Nintendo Switch definitely bodes well for other developers and for Saber Interactive to getting more business in the future and getting more ports out on the Nintendo Switch, because the Switch is a unique system. It can do something the PS4 and the Xbox One and the PC can't do without another device, without something else to aid it, or without leaving your system on forever, or whatever the case is, or using something else. It can be played anywhere. You can play it anywhere in your house without having the need for something else. You can go outside, as long as you have your battery charged and everything like that, you can play it there. You can go to the airport, put it in airplane mode, and you can play it there. You can play it at your friend's house. You don't need to carry around a bunch of cables and wires and everything. You can be able to play these big games that you can only experience on your TV, and now you can take that anywhere that you want. That is something that matters. Even if the game is old, that is something that people want. Heck, if nobody wanted that, then Doom would have sold 0 copies. Then Skyrim would have sold 0 copies. But these games are selling, especially with Skyrim. That actually sold really well on the Nintendo Switch. People want to be able to play these games anywhere that they want, and they're willing to take some downgrades, even if it's severe, in order to get that done, because your game on PS4 and Xbox One runs in 0 frames per second and 0 resolution when it's sitting at home turned off. When you're on an airplane going somewhere else, or if you're in a car ride, you can't lug those around with you with those big systems because they just use too much energy and you're just not going to be able to get it done. So the Switch has its place in this market, and it matters for a lot of people out there. So those are my thoughts on this, guys. We can finally put to bed a couple different things here and kind of theorize that maybe we're getting some other stuff when it comes to these 32GB cartridges, and maybe even larger sizes, because The Witcher 3 is coming to Nintendo Switch in 2019. So once again, Armchair developers can finally just be quiet and let the developers and let the publishers actually pick and choose what can and can't come, or what they feel like doing, and not making up assumptions based on your 0 knowledge of actually making any games. So what do you guys think about here when it comes to The Witcher 3? Are any of you guys planning on picking this game up on the Nintendo Switch? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Go and check out the links in the description below. We got Facebook and Twitter. Go and give us a like and a follow on our social media. Hit that like button if you did like this video. Lets me know you guys want more content like this going forward in the future. And subscribe to PlayerEssence for latest RPG, Japanese, and Nintendo gaming news. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.